Hello, everyone. This webinar today is to present the platform to new managers who have just joined Evolia as managers, and to show you how to create your schedules, manage your employees' timesheets, and all of that good stuff. So we're going to start this webinar in the schedules. So to go into your schedules on Evolia, you just need to click on this logo right here, and then it will bring you into your employee schedule. Once you are in your schedule, you can manage the way you are going to see your schedule. So first of all, whenever you filter, you will have access to multiple teams, positions, and locations. So you could decide to filter only one of those teams. So let's say I only want to filter my floor team. I could filter only my floor team and see the schedule for only this floor team. I could do it with the position as well. So if I only want to see the schedules of my barmaids, I could filter it this way as well. And then I could also filter by location. So if I have different locations, I could decide to filter on each of them. The next thing that you can do is that you can group your schedule. So let's say you want to have the schedule for all of your teams displayed in front of you, but you want them to be split up. So let's say I can click on grouping here, and I can decide to group by position, by team, or by location. So if I were to group by team, for example, here I would see all of my teams split up on the left. So I have my floor team schedule, and then I have my kitchen team schedule right there. So this is different ways that you can change the display of your schedule. And the last thing is that you can sort the schedules here by different types of sorts. So you could sort by first name, by last name. You could also go by seniority, which would filter the employee by their hiring date, by working hours, by score, employee code, employment status, by cost, or a personalized order that you can change in here. So if you want to have your employees sorted in a specific order that does not exist in the pre-existing orders in here, you could personalize that sorting as well. So now to create shifts, there are two possibilities, two different types of shifts that you can create on Evolia. So there are assigned shifts and there are open shifts. So whenever you create an open shift, so let's say I go here and I want to create a shift from 9 to 5 on Tuesday the 15th. So I go in here in the open shift section and I click on this plus button right here. What this will let me do is this will let me input a start time and an end time on my shift. And I will also be able to select the team, the position, and the location for which I want to create a shift for. I can also decide the quantity of the shifts that I want to create. So let's say I wanted to create multiple shifts of this specific shift, I could do it as well. And then I could go ahead and also go into the breaks here and add an unpaid break time. So let's say here I want to add a 30 minutes break time, I could add a 30 minutes break time. Whenever you create an open shift or you create a shift in general, you will have the option to create and publish or to just create. Whenever you create and publish, that means that the shift is going to be visible for employees. So employees are going to see that shift. So when you create an open shift and publish it, employees will see that shift and will be able to apply on that shift afterwards. So you as a manager will be then able to assign the shifts to the interested employees. If you just create it, this will be created as what we call a draft shift, and draft shifts are not visible to employees as long as they are not published. So for this example right here, I'm going to create the shift. So you see now I've created one open shift from 9 to 5 as the head waiter position. So then to assign that shift to an employee afterwards, I could right click on it and click on the assign button and select the employee I would like to assign the shift to in the list. Right now, there's no employees matching the criteria of the shift I have created, so I can switch to advanced search and I could go and select the employees manually in here. I can also just take this shift and then click on it and just slide it down in the schedule of an employee. So let's say I want to assign this shift to Max Dubois here. I can just assign it here to this employee, and I can confirm to assign the shift to that employee. So you see here, a big difference between a published shift and a draft shift is that here the draft shift is not in color, as the published shift is going to be displayed in color. So it's easy for you to see which shifts aren't published yet. If you want to create a shift and assign it directly to an employee without going through the open shift process, you can click here on the employee's schedule directly. So let's say I want to create a shift out for Max Dubois on Wednesday the 16th. I could go ahead and just click on the plus here and add in a shift. I can then once again enter my start time, my end time, the team. Let's say it's in the kitchen this time as a cook. Sorry, this is in French. And then I'm gonna create the shift for that position. So you see I've now created a shift directly assigned to Max Dubois. Then after that, once you have created a shift and you want to publish your shift, there is many different ways you can publish the shift. So you can either right click on the shift and click on the publish option, or you could also just click on this button right here, which says this period as drafts. And whenever you click on the publish button, it will publish all of the shifts on your schedule. So let's say I were to right click on here and publish, it would only publish the shift that I've created. And then I can also just click on publish here to publish all the shifts at once. There's also the possibility to create repeating shifts. So repeating shifts is when, let's say, an employee has a regular schedule and you would like to have their schedule filled for a certain period of time. So let's say Mark Smith here is going to work from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 during 3 months. I could go ahead and create a shift here. Let's say Monday to Thursday for the example, actually. And enter a start time and end time. And then I have a repeat option here. In the repeat option, I have the option to repeat daily, weekly on Monday, every second Monday, every weekday, which would be Monday to Friday, or to have a custom repetition. I can then decide the frequency of that repetition. So it could be 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. In my case, it's going to be every 1 week. And then we're going to go through and put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every week. And then after that, I can select on what date it will end. So I can select on and then select a date. So today I'm creating the shift for the 14th. So I want it to be created all the way to, let's say, June 14th. So I'll create the shift for 2 months in that case. And then once again, I can create and publish or just create. So if I were to create and publish, I wouldn't have to go through the procedure of publishing the shift afterwards, as I just showed you. After that, there is the possibility to edit the shift once it is created. So if I right click on a shift here, I have many different options here, but I'll go through the principal ones. So the first one that you have is the possibility to save the shift as a template. So when you click on that, you can give a name to that template. So let's say I'm going to call it the name of the position and the hours of the shift. And then I can confirm. What this does is that when I go ahead and create a new shift for a new employee, these templates that I've created will be displayed here in the top of my schedule. So what I can do is I can just go ahead and select one of those templates and it will fill in the information exactly as it was in that template that you've created. So that's one of the options you have with the right click. Other option that you have is to edit a shift. So when you click on edit a shift, you can then edit the information directly in the shift from here. So you could edit the start time, the end time, you could edit the repetition, the teams, positions, or locations of the shift. What you can do also, the last two options is to cancel a shift and delete a shift. So whenever you cancel a shift, let's say this shift, for example, you can enter a reason as to why it was canceled. So let's say I enter test here. I can enter my cancellation, and then it will display here. The shift will still be visible on the schedule, but with an X in the corner, and it's going to be in a more foggy color. So therefore, when you click on that shift, or when you just put your mouse over it, you can see the reason as to why it was canceled. I'm sorry, you can only see the reason why when you click on the shift. So you see the reason of the cancellation here, and the shift is still displayed on the schedule. So there's a possibility after that to right click on that shift and restore it as well. However, if you delete a shift, this will completely delete the shift from the schedule. So there's no way to then get the shift back afterwards if it was a mistake. So keep in mind that when you delete a shift, it is not possible to get that shift back afterwards. So be really careful whenever you delete a shift. Try thinking of canceling it instead of deleting it, and using the deletion of the shifts mostly for when there are errors in the schedule. There is the option to also copy and paste some shifts. So let's say I want to take those shifts that were assigned to Mark Smith here. I could use the selection mode, and then I could select more than one shift at a time. So let's say these 4 shifts. I could paste them somewhere else afterwards. So let's say I want to assign those shifts to test 3 employees. I could paste those 4 shifts here. So I can copy and paste the shifts like this in the schedule. I can also just go ahead and select one shift. So if I right click on a shift, I could copy it and then just paste it elsewhere as well. I also have the option when I select more than one shift at a time to either cancel them here or to delete them as well. So if I select the selection mode here, lets you select many shifts at the same time and do an action with those shifts. So let's say I want to delete those 4 shifts. I could just click on the delete option here and delete all of them at the same time. So my next option here is also I can select shifts and then save it as a template. So let's say these shifts right here, I want to save as a template. So this whole week right here, I want to save as a template. So I could go ahead and select all of these shifts at once. I could click on save as a schedule template and then give a name to that template. We're going to call it test 2 for now. And then if I go into the next week and I want to assign this same template to another employee, let's say I want to assign it to this employee right here, I could right click here in the schedule in the first day that I want to insert the template in, click insert from schedule template, and select the template that I've just created to enter the shifts directly. So you can have templates with many shifts selected at once. But this is really useful if there's templates of schedules that you need to reuse often. There are also display settings that you can use in here. So whenever you click on the settings here, you will have the option to you have many different display options. I'm sorry. So you will have the option to show your scheduled totals. So whenever you remove that, it will not show the scheduled totals. You would have the option also to not show non-scheduled employees. So let's say you only want to see your scheduled employees for the week. You could see only your scheduled employees. Another example of these options is that let's say you do not want to show the name of the position on the shift. You could decide to not show the name of the position and only have the location, and you can do that with the location as well. So you see here when I remove the show location, it removes the location name here on the shift. What else here that is important to show? You can decide to not show all of your open shifts as well. So if you decide to click on that option, all the open shifts will not be displayed. And there's many different settings like this. There's also the possibility to show conflicting shifts. So whenever there is a conflicting shift, let's say here you see that this employee is unavailable. So when an employee enters their availability, you will see here this gray bar that shows the employee is unavailable. So if I were to schedule a shift for that employee that day, let's say we just copy this shift and we paste it here. And I then publish this shift. Then when I have this option activated to show conflicting shifts, I have this warning here telling me that there are shifts with conflicting with employees' availability. So therefore, I can quickly see with the exclamation mark here in red what shift is in conflict with the employee's availability. There's many different display settings like this that you can go through directly in the schedule. And then from the schedule, you also have the option to create leaves. So usually your employees would do the leave request and then you would have to approve it, but you can also create leave requests directly from here. So the first thing you can do is that you can add a stat holiday. Whenever you add a stat holiday, you can give it a name. So let's say we call it Easter. Then I'm going to select the type of leave. We're going to select, well, this is stat holiday. I'm sorry, this is in French. And then we're going to select the date of the stat holiday. So Easter, we're going to create it for Monday, April 21st. You then have the option to calculate the indemnity of that stat holiday. So you can decide to enter either a fixed number of hours or based on the hours worked in the previous days or weeks of the stat holiday. So this will, in Quebec specifically, or I think in Ontario as well, there are rules that will apply automatically the 1/20th of the hours paid to the employee or the amounts paid to the employee in the last 4 weeks. So you can enter that rule in here if you decide to put that as your calculation type. You can also decide to cancel your employees' shift. So let's say the business is closed on that day and you would like to cancel all the shifts of your employees. You could just go ahead and click on cancel shifts and set them as unavailable to avoid scheduling them on that date as well in the future by accident. And then you also have the option to decide who this stat holiday is going to be applied to. So you could go by employment statuses, by teams, positions, locations, or select specific employees manually. If you go into confirmation, then it will just ask you a confirmation. It will show you the list of employees to whom this will be applied. And then if you click on save, you can then see that on Monday the 21st, everybody will have that stat holiday of Easter. Once this stat holiday is created, you can then go ahead into the schedule and then click on that stat holiday that will be displayed in the time off section on the upper part of your schedule. So if we click on Easter here, we will see the 1/20th here, and we will be able to click on the 3 dots and edit, reapply, or delete the stat holiday. So let's say I wanted to edit any type of information that I've entered in the first place. I could edit here. If I would like to reapply, I could just click on reapply here, and it would reapply the stat holiday to all of the employees. And I could also delete the stat holiday completely if I wanted to, if I made a mistake. So next up is so this is pretty much it for the schedule. Actually, there's one last part I wanted to show you. It's how to add a leave request for an employee. So usually your employees would do their leave request and you would approve it afterwards, but if you wanted to create it for your employees, you could do that as well. So you could select the employee and enter the employee you would like to create a leave for, and then you could add a type of leave. So you could select, let's say, vacation leave, and then you can enter the start date and the end date. And you could also specify the time of the start of the leave request and the time of the end on each day. You can then decide the amount of days to remove from the bank. Let's say the bank is in days, you could decide to remove, let's say, 5 days, and then click on save, and it will add a vacation request for that employee during that specific week. So this is the way you can add leave requests. Now, if we go quickly into the list of employees, you will be able to see here your list of employees in the employee section. So from here, as you can in the schedule, you can filter your employees list. You can see your active employees, your inactive employees, and all of your employees. And you can click on this plus button to add employees. And you could also go into an employee's profile and look at their profile in here. And edit any information in their profile. There is also the option here to invite employees. So let's say here, this employee, Mark Smith right here, I see that there's a yellow triangle. That means that the employee has not joined the platform yet. I could resend the email invitation to that employee by clicking on the 3 dots here and click on resend invitation. So this is just quickly how to go into your employees list so you can see all of your employees. You can manage your employees profile in there. I won't go too much into detail within that because there's many different settings for many different enterprises. So that's basically it. And you can also deactivate an employee from here, but keep in mind that certain of you have integrations with payroll or with HR systems. So employees might be coming from here. So therefore, if you deactivated an employee, they will just come back in the next synchronization of the integration. So on the schedule, I showed you how to create a leave request. I'm going to show you how to see the leave requests that are pending. So on your dashboard here, you will have a section. The dashboard is this button right here. You will have this section here that will be called leaves to approve. When you click on this, it will bring you in this section right here, the request section. And from here, you can manage your employees' leave request. So once again, in this section, you can filter. So as I could do in the schedule, I can filter either by teams, position, location, by employee, if I only want to see the requests of a specific employee. I could also filter by type. So let's say I only wanted to see my vacation leave, I could filter by vacation leaves. Then I can also see my pending leave requests. I can see my approved leave requests. I can see the declined ones, and I can see all of them. When I go back into the pending leave requests, I can then select one of the pending leave requests, and then I can approve or decline the leave request. So right now I can also, as a manager, decide what to do with the shifts that are scheduled on that week. So you see Mark on this week, he has 4 shifts. So I can decide before approving the leave request what I want to do with those shifts. So I can click on manage the affected shifts, and then I could check them by checking this box here and then changing the action. So right now they will be ignored. Let's say I wanted to cancel all of those shifts as one. While I approve it, I could just select the cancel option, click on save, and then it will say here that 4 shifts will be canceled. Then I can click on the approve button, click on approve request, and this request that I've just approved will go in my approved leave request, and the employee will receive a notification that their leave request has been approved. So this is how you can quickly manage your leave request. And then if you click on the plus button, once again here, you can create the a new leave request the same way that I did it earlier in the schedule. Here, if I go into the timesheets, this is where you will be able to approve your employees' hours. So let's say I go back in the past and I go in the timesheet of March 31st to April 13th. So whenever your employees need to clock in or clock out, there will be 3 different types of symbols here that will be displayed next to the time entries. So you see you have here the red ones, which signifies an absence of clock-in from an employee. You will have yellow ones, which I don't have an example of right now, but when they're yellow, it means that the employee clocked their shift, but irregularly. So it could be that they clocked in too early, that they clocked in too late, clocked out too early, clocked out too late. Could mean that they forgot to punch their break as well. So there's many different reasons as to why it would be yellow. And then there's the green check here. That means that this time entry has already been approved. So as a manager, your goal is for all of your time entries to be approved at the end of the week. So therefore, we can export those timesheets into the payroll. So to approve a time entry, I have many different ways to do so. So the first way is just to click on the time entry here and then click on the 3 dots. Once I click on the 3 dots, I will have 2 different options, which either will be to adjust or to confirm. So if I confirm, it will confirm exactly as the employee clocked. So right there, if I confirm, it would confirm that the employee worked 0 hours on that day. So if I were to click on this button right here, you would see that I approved 0 hours for this specific day. And then after that, if I were to adjust, so let's say here the employee didn't clock, but let's say this day he forgot to clock in, I could click on the 3 dots, click on the adjust button, and then enter, let's say, apply the scheduled hours to say that the employee actually worked from 15 to 22. I could also change the paid arrival and the paid departure. So that the clock in is a yellow one or a red one, you will always have the option to approve or adjust. So confirm or adjust. So this is one of the way that you can do so. So you can see quickly here all the time entries that haven't been approved yet. And there's also a cool filter in the timesheet. So if I click on the filter here and then I click on the label, I will have this filter right here, which is called non-validated time entry. So when I click on this filter right here, it only shows me the time entries that have not been validated yet. So I can filter all of the non-validated ones. And once I approve all of them, nothing will be displayed. And this is my signal to know that I've approved everything. The other way that you can approve timesheet is that you can do it from the dashboard. So in the dashboard, I can first of all display the amount of days that I want to show. So right now I'm displaying 7 days. So here I see that there was 49 irregular clocking shifts in the last 7 days. But let's say I wanted to see the last 14 days, I could change it as well here as 14 days, and I could see here all of the irregular clocking shifts in the last 87 days. When I click on this option right here and I click on one of the shifts, I can see here the timesheet information. So I can see what was planned on the schedule. So from 9 to 5, I can see what was punched by the employee and what is to pay. So from there, I can do the same procedure again. So I can either confirm or adjust. So if I were to adjust here, let's say this is for today. So let's take a shift of yesterday and click on adjust. And let's say that employee worked actually 1 more hour here. I could change the paid departure and then validate that the employee worked on that shift. So once I go back on my timesheet here, I will see that this shift has now been approved. So Tony here, Tony's shift has been approved. So you can do it from your dashboard here. And the other way to do so would be to go directly into an employee's timesheet. So let's say I take Alex here and I go in his timesheet. So I can click on this purple button right here. I can then go into the employee's timesheet and I can see the amount of time that was scheduled. I can see the amount of time that was worked, the regular time, if there was any overtime, if there was any premium, and the total amount to pay. So I can see all of this information in the employee's timesheet. And then if I wanted to approve the timesheets from there, I could click on the three dots here. Let's say I take Wednesday, April the 2nd. You see here that the employee was absent. So if I click on the three dots here, I have the option to either modify a clock in entry or to view the shift details. So let's say I were to modify, I could modify the start time and the end time. So let's say I were to put from 9 to 5 here, I could click on save. And then if we take next one and we view the shift details, then we have the same window that I showed you earlier when we look at the time entries from the dashboard. So you can see what was planned, what was punched, and what is to pay. So if I adjust, keep in mind that I can also add in a note. And then when I add a note, I can also decide to add this note to an employee's profile. So let's say this employee that day came in at 10 and I want to enter on their profile that they were late, 1 hour late. I can enter this information in a note and click on add to employee's profile. So whenever you add a note here, this note will always be displayed here with a purple logo. So you can see here the information right there. You can see it here as well. So you see there's other shifts here with notes. If you go back to the timesheet, you see the purple note logo here and you can hover your mouse over it to see the notes. And then since I've added it into the employee's profile, if I go into the employee's profile and then go into the communication feature, or I mean the notes and attachments feature, I can see here that the employee was 1 hour late, and I added this note for the shift of April 3rd. So at the end of the week, your goal is to have all of your timesheets with green checks. There's also one last thing that I wanted to show you, is that when you go into an employee's timesheet, you also have the option to massively approve all of your employees or all this employee's timesheet at once. So let's say this employee was really absent on that week, I could just click on the approve button here and approve all of this timesheet at once. And then if I wanted to add a leave request to compensate for all those absences, I could just click on the leave request button here, which is the umbrella logo once again. And then I could add, let's say, vacation for that employee from Wednesday, April 2nd, all the way to let's say the 12th, and then use 11 days from the bank and then click on save. And then a leave request will be added on the employee's timesheet. You also have the button here to recalculate the timesheet. So sometimes when you edit an employee's timesheet, the totals on the top here might not be updated immediately. So it will take some time, but if you want it to be updated immediately, you can then click here on this button to recalculate the timesheet, and all of the timesheets of the employee will be recalculated this way. Or this employee's timesheet will be recalculated. And then if you want to approve this way, you can also click on the next button to go to the next employee, or previous to go back to the previous ones. Then after that, the other option that I have would be to display here, like I'm showing my timesheets on pay period. So my pay period is every 2 weeks. Let's say I only wanted to see my timesheets weekly, I could change the display. I can once again group as I did in the schedule as well. So I can go ahead and group my timesheets by team here, and it would group all of my timesheets here by teams like I did in the schedule earlier. I could do it as well by position, or I'm sorry, by location or by position. You have here once again the option to create a stat holiday the same way I did in the schedule. This is the exact same feature, so I won't go through that again. I have here the option to export a an employee or to export the timesheets, different reports on the timesheet. So I have the option to export a summary report, which will export a summarized report of the hours per week per employees. Here I also have the timesheet report, which is a more detailed report, which shows a line per time entry with all the details of that time entry. So at what time the employee clocked in, at what time they started, at what time they will end, at what time, how much time they'll be paid, how much time they clocked, all of the notes. So this timesheet report is very detailed and shows a line for each time entry. You also have here the option to export a summary report grouped by earning code. So this is the same thing as summary, but instead of exporting one line per employee per week, it will export one line per employee per pay period. And this is for all earning codes. So let's say an employee during a week or during a pay period, they add hours, regular hours, and they also add vacation hours. This would be split up in two different lines. You also have an expense report. So if you are using the expense feature, you will be able to export a report of all those expenses as well. And then you also have a button here to approve all of your timesheets for the week. So let's say I go back here and let's say I were to do that, just approve the timesheet, all of the timesheet at once. Once all of the timesheets are approved, you will see, if we go back here, say we approve these. So once you've approved all of your timesheets, you will see here a logo or a green band in the top of your timesheet saying that all of the timesheets have been validated for that specific period that is displayed. So right now I know that from the 3rd to the 16th, all of my time entries have been validated. If you do not see this logo, this means that some time entries have not been validated yet. And then I recommend to look at what time entries have not been validated yet to use the non-validated time entry feature. So as a manager, your goal will be to approve all of the timesheets by the end of the pay period of the week or before payroll, so then payroll can export them. So basically, usually the way it would go is to create a schedule and then approve your employees' timesheets. And then after that, everything will be able to be exported to payroll. So yeah, I also showed you how to approve the leave requests of your employees. So that's basically how it goes. If you have any questions about what you just saw, don't hesitate to contact us. It would be our pleasure to answer your questions. But this is it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.